Good morning, everybody. How are we doing this morning? I hope we're all doing well. So I'm going to be handing over to Siyaphumelela Conference, who's going to be chairing this session this morning. Siyaphumelela was our 2023 Dream Scholar, and he's now working at Emirates as an educational technologist. So we're going to hand over Siyaphumelela to chair this session. Give him a warm round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I've already been introduced, my name is Siyaphumelela, and I will be chairing today's plenary discussion. So this plenary is, of course, going to be anchored by two critical questions which we've been asking ourselves since the beginning of this conference. We are quite interested in how institutions navigate, challenges, and how they begin if they've already started to move the needle for our students. But we are also interested in the position of the work that you do within the institutions and work across the various departments so that we do not end up with, as it was mentioned at the start of the conference, boutique programs. So we will hear from the student voice. We will also hear from institutional leads and as well as success coaches. And each of them will be bringing their own insights into this critical discussion we'll be having. But before we do that, I'd like to call on our Siyaphumelela scholar, Nontobeko Makakula. So Nontobeko is an international student from Eswatini studying BCom Econometrics at the University of Pretoria. She has faced academic setbacks, financial pressure, and mental health challenges that once led her to drop out of the University of Cape Town. What changed the trajectory of her story was engaging with the academic success coaches and accessing emotional and psychological support through the student counseling unit. Today, Nontobeko serves as a peer advisor in the Faculty of Economics and Management Sciences and as a peer volunteer at the Student Counseling Unit, supporting other students who feel overwhelmed, lost, or close to giving up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Still here across time, as I time travel from 2026 back to 2022, I see Mother City International Airport. I hear the sounds of the terminals echoing. Another gap year, a scholarship at risk, a dream delayed. I had first set foot on this ground just 2 months before with a dream folded carefully in a suitcase, crossing borders from the kingdom of Eswatini, meant to gain ground at the Harvard of Africa. Above the clouds, numb to the onlookers, on my face a river of tears I could not contain. He lingered in my mind, in my body, in my spirit. For the life of me, I could not get him out. Not that I was trying to. My pain demanded to be felt. Oh, little did I know that our memories would turn to dust, bearing what once felt like everything. How could something so beautiful trigger something so painful? Hello, depression. So this is you, making me feel like nothing else matters without him. Our little bubble had survived high school. Shoot me for believing it would survive varsity too. As I touched down at OR Tambo, the terminals echoed again, this time in silence. How will I explain this to my mother? What do I say when the truth sounds so outrageous? My bed would tell you the full story. Successful people don't sleep. So I traded rest for rank, peace for possession. Mouth sharp and fist ready, hanging out with the cool kids, the weed smokers, the gangsters I called lover. In excellence and emptiness, I desperately wanted to be visible. I want to study medicine, I said. But Eswatini said, not here. So I pivoted. The International Baccalaureate, twice unlucky. The African Leadership Academy, my African dream cast away. Then A-levels gathered what was left of me. A shot at the Winelands University, whistle blown, offside. Another shot at the University of Zambia, on target, but no funding. 2 shots at the Allen Gray Scholarship, crossbar, wide, never quite finding the net. So, no contract, no game time, benched. Babysitting my beloved nephew, a season played off the field. Watching the game from the sidelines. The year 2021, a world in upheaval. Then, the Harvard of Africa calls. And just like that, I'm back in the league, top of the table, momentum, form. Everything finally clicking. Until the flabbergast of dropping out. No soft landing, a long fall from everything I thought I had secured. A body slowly disconnecting from itself. Closed curtains, seeing stars, missed lectures, and one fateful witching hour. An assignment abandoned by the flickering wave of a powerful thought. This ends here. But in the core of my being, it dawned on me, this was a manifestation of abundant childhood trauma in the quiet holding rooms of psychotherapy. Silence carried the weight of untold truths. I began to understand that my intelligence had been a tower rising on hollow ground. Then, the year 2023, in the heart of the Union Building's capital, where the jacarandas bloom, casting violet shadows over the bustling streets, a new dawn of econometrics began. But my journey at Tux, not characterized by wins, but loss through academic setbacks, trapped under financial pressure, and eventually, mental health challenges took the trophy. Exam entrance denied, modules failed, modules blocked, modules repeated. 3 years turning into 5. But I am still here, still fighting, not to disappear, not only from the face of my academics, from the face of the earth. Yes, that haunting spirit had located me too. Yet, right here, I was in the right place, and it was time. A willingness to fully engage was without question. From the student counseling unit to academic success coaches, early warnings, consultations, second chances, not only saying this is how you pass, but this is how you breathe. And then a positive spin, no longer only held, but becoming someone who holds, guiding lost peers as they crawl, walk, and eventually fly across the finish line. Seating across from students on the edge, saying, let's figure this out together, because once I was that student needing someone to explain my life back to me. Leadership, without office, without badge, just presence, just voice, led to votes, appreciation, recognition, my reliability, confidence, being surfaced and seen, testament that all that fire had refined me. At 25, I am still chasing a first degree. On my chest, my mother still plants her heavy worries, counting the seasons by the crowns my peers wear. But the woman I am now knows this healing is her responsibility, not dictated by her mother's timeline or her peers' pace. For if I had forfeited my sanity, my soul guiding spark, I would not be standing here, owning my path, making each day matter.
Yes, thank you very much, Nontobeko, for that inspiring poem. And if this, ladies and gentlemen, isn't proof that the work that you do truly matters and that it does actually change lives, then I do not know what will be sufficient evidence. So I'm going to call our next speaker to the stage. Prof. Nicole de Wet Billings is the Senior Director of Academic Affairs at Wits University. She has been Siyaphumelela Institutional Lead since the late 2025 and leads the Gauteng Regional Network. Research background is in the study of adolescent and youth health and well-being outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Nicole de Wet Billings. Okay. Also joining us on stage is Mr. Blair Johnstone, Dr. Charlotte Nunes, and Mr. Lerato Sikonyela, which I'll introduce as their turn to speak also comes. Thank you.
Just a bit lower. Good morning, everyone. Feel like I'm on Teams. Is everyone able to hear me this morning? It's wonderful to see such a great turnout to our panel, given that I believe last night's events went on quite late. So I think, first of all, congratulations to everyone for getting up this morning. I'd like to start by thanking Siyaphumelela and Sadie for this opportunity to talk about and to reflect on our experiences and our current state, as well as where we're hoping to go as Wits University. We were asked to reflect on a few questions, and I hope that I do this in a narrative form rather than bullet points. But I think it's important that we look at or consider, what does success look like? And I have notes here on what success looks like, but I think we just saw the perfect example of what success looks like. It is young people, it is resilience, it is support for young people, it is coming back when coming back is the hardest thing for you to do. And so I'd like us to take this opportunity just to applaud not only our young people here today, but all the young people and the students at our institutions who, despite odds we will never understand and have never been through, still come back every day in the same way that all of you do to assist with success. So, Program Director, if I may just pause for a round of applause for everyone. Okay, so now into a little bit more specifics about Wits University. What does success look like for us, and how or where have we seen real impact, given our participation in Siyaphumelela? I think that where we have seen real impact is in laying the groundwork, which we have done for the past many years in this collaboration, but also as an institution. So we have come a far way and are far better at identifying our high-risk modules. We've also learned a critical lesson that high-risk modules this year are not necessarily high-risk modules next year or the year after. So it requires us to be very intentional. It requires us to have some kind of ability to pivot our thinking based on what we perceive as a high-risk module. And we've gotten really good at making our interventions targeted towards specific and, well, sometimes specific, but most of the time holistic solutions. We have also made a real impact in changing institutions, our institution at least. We have successfully drafted and now implementing a number of frameworks, including our student success framework, our monitoring and evaluation framework, our data framework. And why I say these are important, because it really shows, firstly, institutional backing for what we're doing. So we have the support of our institution, our management in our institution. And by having these frameworks collaboratively drafted and passed and made into institutional frameworks, what we're showing is a strong commitment to wanting real impact. The frameworks allow us to implement initiatives collaboratively. It allows us to work intensively in particular areas where we need it. And this has been an example of real impact for us. One of the places where we are concentrating our efforts is in our first-year mathematics programs. And this is a direct consequence of our student success framework, of our data management framework. And this amplifies what we're calling the program, is a holistic wraparound support for not only first-year mathematics and applied mathematics students, but also for the lecturers involved, academic advisors, tutors. And this, I believe, will be a fine example of how we use systems thinking, how we use collaborative work, how we reduce silos to improve what we perceived as high risk, which is first-year mathematics. Second, who anchors the Siyaphumelela work at Wits University? And Siyaphumelela work is sitting quite firmly within Business Intelligence Services, and specifically the team of institutional research. We believe that this is the appropriate place for Siyaphumelela work, since BIS and institutional research are the data heart of the university. And we really need the heart of the data, the place where the data is kept and generated, in order for innovation to happen. So our work has been largely to use data, to think about what data is missing, and how can we make this data available to the university, to staff, to academics, to students in meaningful ways. And in that way, we have developed our data dashboards, which have our indicators of success, our at-risk students. That's a quantitative dashboard, but it allows our academic advisors to be able to respond quite timeously to students in need, and to take that first intervention, which is an email to say, please come in and see me, or please come in and let's have a discussion. And that's very important. However, it's not without its challenges. And our main challenge, I think, has been encouraging data literacy across the institution. So when people see BIS, where people see dashboards, they start getting afraid of the numbers and the percentages and the data that's being shown. And so we've had to overcome this fear of statistics, this fear of numbers. And one of the things that we've done is we have now data champions in all of our faculties, in all of our advising units, and we offer workshops. When I say we, I mean BIS, by the way, offer workshops on data literacy, because we really have to recognize that sometimes it's not only our students who are in need in order to achieve success, but sometimes we need to empower our staff as well. And one of the ways is data literacy. Other challenges that we face are ensuring that the institution and the community around the institution are aware of what our objectives are for student success, are aware that we are trying to move the needle, that we are trying to provide holistic support. And how we navigate these challenges are mostly through our advocacy efforts. So presentations, workshops, many reports, many student engagements. We ensure visibility. So we try to ensure that our student success work is presented across many committees, many fora within the university. and we include the student voice as much as possible. So all our student success efforts, all our student success committees have students at the heart, and students are involved in these discussions. As mentioned, I'm a recently new institutional lead for Siyaphumelela, and I do not sit in the Business Intelligence Services, but rather as the Senior Director of Academic Affairs. And this was quite a strategic move to ensure that we can increase our visibility of student success across the portfolios. Where BIS is kind of seen as our data heart, Academic Affairs has more reach to faculties, to students, to postgraduate, to research. And so increasing the visibility and collaboration is what made us make this move. Has there been any significant changes? I would have to ask the team, but I don't think we've had many significant changes since taking over as lead. I've worked with BIS for 2.5 years. We had a plan then, we have a plan now. We remain aligned, we work together. Our regional network, the Gauteng Regional Network, has been working together for a long time, and we really inform our practices, and I inform how we lead the institution in this regard through the networks and through the collaborations. And so I apologize for being a minute over time, Program Director, but that's my 5 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. DeVet. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Blair Johnstone. Mr. Blair Johnstone is a Director of Student Success at the University of Canterbury in Christchurch, New Zealand, leading strategic initiatives to enhance student success, retention, and equity across the institution. Blair brings a strong background in secondary school leadership and is committed to advancing equitable pathways and strengthening bicultural practice. Blair is currently undertaking doctoral research focused on student retention in tertiary education. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Blair Johnstone.
Morena koutou, nā mihi nui kia koutou I Awhiriki ki te tonga me nā hoe mahi putu noi e te ao. Good morning everyone, and warm acknowledgements to you all here in South Africa. Ko Blair Johnstone tōku wingawa, my name is Blair Johnstone. He ka autu ki angitu I ki te whare wānanga o Waitaha. I'm the Director of Student Success at the University of Canterbury. He uri ahau no Ngaitahu. I descend from Ngaitahu, which is one of the tribes in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm joining you from Te Whare Wānanga o Waitaha, the University of Canterbury and Ōtautahi Christchurch, Aotearoa, New Zealand. A treaty partnership, research-led university of around 25,000 students with a strong commitment to equity and student success. Before I move on, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the students who have helped shape this conference. To my table over to the left, to those who have stood and shared their poem, nā mihi nui ki a koutou mo o koutou kupu me o koutou kōrero. Thank you for your words and your sharing. And to those students who have presented in workshops, and to those who have sat alongside us as equals over the past few days. In Aotearoa, New Zealand, we often return to a whakatauki that guides how we think about resilience and perseverance. Whātia te kāhurangi ki te tuhua koe me hea maunga teitei. Seek the treasure you value most dearly. If you bow your head, let it be to a lofty mountain. For me, it speaks to striving for something meaningful and having the courage to keep going. Something we've clearly seen from the students here, and their resilience and perseverance to pursue and succeed in higher education despite the challenges they've faced. This reflects not only their courage and aspiration, but also the leadership they bring and the responsibility we carry as institutions to match that. At the University of Canterbury, we've had to rethink what we mean by student success. Success is not just persistence, it's about students thriving. That means moving beyond access to belonging and ultimately to successful completion. But as we've heard throughout this conference, success goes beyond completion. It's also about what happens beyond the university, about employability, about purpose, and about enabling students to move into meaningful pathways and futures. Crucially, this is an equity-focused definition. It's not just about improving outcomes overall, but about closing the gaps between different groups of students. Ki angi tū, which means and speaks to enabling and achieving success, has provided the foundation for this work at Te Whare Wānanga o Waitaha, the University of Canterbury. It has given us a shared vision, a kaupapa, purpose, and a common language across the institution about what success means and what it must and who it must work for. It has helped us move from activity to intention toward a more coherent, institution-wide approach to student success. And central to that is student voice, embedded not as consultation, but as something that actively shapes how we design, respond, and improve. So for us, student success is about creating the conditions for students to thrive during their studies and to succeed beyond them, grounded in ki angi tū and shaped by a deliberate, equity-focused approach. Once you start thinking about student successes in this way, the question becomes, how do you actually make it work in practice? At the University of Canterbury, this work is anchored through ki angi tū, but it's deliberately positioned in a whole of institution effort. It doesn't sit within one team or one portfolio, it spans across the entire university. And that's important, because traditionally universities have been organised in silos. Faculties, schools, academic divisions, student services, data teams, all doing valuable mahi work, but often not fully connected. So the shift for us has been toward a more integrated approach, where those parts of the system are connected through shared data, shared governance, and a shared understanding of responsibility. But there's a real tension in that. Student success requires central coordination, clarity of strategy, alignment, and leadership, but it also requires distributed ownership. Because the real work happens in faculties, in programs, and in everyday interactions with our students. And I think this is something we're all grappling with across the institutions. How do you create enough coherence across the system without losing the local ownership that actually makes change possible? In Aotearoa, New Zealand, we often talk about this as he waka eke noa. We're all in this together. And that's what this work requires, not a single owner, but a shared commitment across the institution. Where we've seen the greatest progress is when student success is not seen as the responsibility of a central team, but as something that is owned across the institution. At UC, the way we've started to operationalise that balance, the connection between coordination and ownership is through a program called He Kōkongana. He Kōkongana is grounded in a whakatauki, a proverb. He kōkongana whare e kitea, he kōkongana nā koe kaore e kitea. A corner of a house may be seen, but not so the corners of the heart. It speaks to the idea that while we can see structures and systems, what we often cannot see are the experiences, pressures, and challenges that students carry with them. And for me, this is central to student success work because we are very good at designing visible systems, but not always at understanding the lived realities of students navigating them. He kōkongana is our mechanism of responding to that. It's about moving from isolated initiatives to system-level change. A key part of this is using data as a strategic lever, not just for reporting, to help us identify where students are not succeeding and why. What is distinctive is the focus on building capability across the institution through coaching leadership and data literacy, so staff are able to act on that insight. It also means connecting the system, student voice, advising and support, curriculum and policy, so we're not responding in silos, but in a coordinated way. And then importantly, this work is focused on addressing equity gaps at scale. I also want to take this time to acknowledge the support and partnership of Professor Tabasinga Guru and Professor Wendy Kilfoil, who have helped shape and strengthen this work. What has really stood out to me, both in our context and throughout this conference, is how consistent the challenges are across institution. Silos, competing priorities, change fatigue, they're not unique to UC. They're shared realities across our systems. But equally, what enables progress is also shared. Leadership alignment, using data not just for reporting but for learning, embedding student voice in decision-making, and critically building trust and relationships across the system. For me, Siyaphumelela has demonstrated this so powerfully. This work is not about isolated initiatives, it is about building institutional capability to do this work well and to sustain it over time. Across both Aotearoa, New Zealand and South Africa, the challenge is not knowing what works, The challenge is aligning our institutions so that work is implemented consistently, at scale, in ways that close the equity gaps. So the work for all of us is to continue shaping institutions that truly enable student success. Because if success depends on connection, then our systems need to be designed intentionally for connection. And across everything we've heard at this conference, that is what stands out. Not isolated initiatives, but connected systems that enable students to thrive. And that is where the real work sits together. Nō reira ka mutu aku kōrero, so I'll conclude my words, and I'll finish with a whakatauke that guides the work for us. I aha te mihi nui te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It is people, it is people, it is people. Kia ora.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnston, for that wonderful conversation we've just had with you. Now, allow me to welcome Dr. Charlotte Nunes, who is the Director of Student Development and Support in the Center of Innovation and Learning and Teaching. She was the Siyaphumelela co-lead and is now the institutional lead at the Central University of Technology in my favorite province, the Free State. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome her with a round of applause as it comes to the stage.
Good morning, Siyaphumelela Student Success family. Good morning. Before we at CUT, we came into membership of the Student Success Network in June 2024. I recall that when we were working on the proposal, we thought that this is just a project for our unit for SILD, only to realize that this is not actually a project. It's a catalyst for institutional transformation. Hence, the title of my presentation is Student Success, a Strategic Institutional Priority. I'm sorry about that. The next slide.
It's not the next one.
No.
This presentation starts here and only has 4 slides.
Is it?
It's 1, 2. Okay.
That's fine. Okay. In the reason I said that student success is an institutional priority. At CUT, our council approved in 2025, November 2025, a new strategic plan which focuses on student success. Student success and data-informed decision-making. Following that, the university, and in particular, the executive, championed the data strategy so that the focus is on using data to inform decision-making across the institutional departments, the faculties, student support, academic support. We came to realize very early in this initiative at CUT that student success involves breaking silos, working across the institution, departments, and faculties. So during the marketing of our Student Success Initiative, we invited the executive, we invited the various departments, including the cleaning staff and protection services. Given that the majority of our students, come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and some of them have never used computers before, so they will come to the university during registration, literally come to the university and start queuing. The first people that they come across are the protection services, the security. So hence, we decided that we are going to get security to understand what student success actually means, that the cleaning staff understand how they contribute towards student success. Looking at our new strategic plan, it focuses on 3 strategic objectives: to promote an integrated, student-centered ecosystem that enhances academic success, support, and positive experiences throughout the student journey. So that's the focus, that's what we are focusing on, to create a positive experience for our students, for the cleaning staff to create a positive experience for our students, even the security that the student meets at the gate. We, as a university, decided that we need everyone to understand that student success is everyone's responsibility. Although championing of student success, Siyaphumelela, resides inside SILD, but student success, it's everyone's responsibility. With the implementation of our new strategy, which was approved by Council in last year, November, CUT embedded student success into the university's performance management system, ensuring that every staff member understands their role in advancing student success. HR told different sectors of the institution that please don't look at your role profile this year when you prepare your performance contract. Show how you're going to contribute to the new strategy. Demonstrate how you're going to contribute to retention, progression, and pass rates and graduation. So it was quite a challenge, especially for the faculty admin staff, to get to understand how do we contribute towards that. However, at this conference, there are people sitting in this room who actually presented yesterday from the Faculty of Health. These are administrators in the Faculty of Health, but they demonstrated yesterday how they are contributing to student success, how they are advancing student success as administrators. I will go to the concluding remarks. As I have indicated before, that student success at CUT, it's embedded within the university's strategy, the structures, policies, performance management systems, decision-making processes. At CUT, student success it's no longer viewed as the responsibility of CILT, but it is everyone's responsibility. It's being viewed as everyone's responsibility. Our participation in Siyaphumelela Network has served really, and which we are really grateful for, as a catalyst for institutional change, helping us break silos, strengthen collaboration across departments, and the use of data more effectively to inform action. I would like to say thank you, and also to thank the team that's here. I remember in 2024, when we came to Siyaphumelela Conference, we were about 3 to 4, but today I must say that we have over 20 delegates from CUT, and these represent the faculties. We had a deputy dean presenting on supplemental instruction. We've had, we have people from wellness, we have the executive, we have the SRC, we had about 6 SRC members represented today. So as you can see that really CUT, we are intentional about viewing and appreciating and understanding that student success is everyone's responsibility. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Nunes, for reminding us here that indeed student success is no one man's responsibility, but it is all of our responsibilities gathered here. So I will call on Mr. Lerato Sikonyela, who is a manager of student academic support at Plaatje University, where he leads institutional student success initiatives and the Siyaphumelela program. Lerato does not wait for problems to escalate. He identifies inefficiencies, implements solutions, and uses data to drive faster, smarter decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him to the stage.
Thank you, Simpiwe. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Lerato Sikonyela, and I'm still on the number of delegation from our colleagues at CUT. With us, if we can bring that number, it means there are some divisions that won't have staff members. So, colleagues, I will be sharing Plaatje University's student success progress. I am exactly 5 years, 3 months, 26 days since joining Plaatje University today. So when I arrived at Plaatje University that time ago, I joined the university mainly. My primary role was to develop the student academic support division and just build it from ground up. And when I got there, it was a clean sheet. So coming from my background, I've been in the classroom for quite a while and worked with student access and success in my former employer. So I joined this young institution, and the staff was also very young. And for me, that was either I view it as a challenge or I view it as an opportunity, and I decided to see it as an opportunity. There were many vacancies. I think in my life, I've never seen an institution at the time that had so many vacancies. So as much as we had young staff members, we had to fill multiple roles. Then immediately I was called to become an institutional lead. That was my second responsibility that was assigned to me. And a couple of months down the line, I was acting in so many things. So, however, colleagues, what I saw was that how do we maximize the use of the human resource that we have in a much more effective way? And that was to understand what each person does and where can we make the biggest impact and start developing people in those areas. And for us, that's what helped us to start progressing. And also partnerships, collaborations that we had within the network with the University of the Free State Northwest. We learned as much as possible from what colleagues experienced as challenges and how they overcame those challenges. And an enabling factor, or the most important or constant enabling factor for us, was leadership. And the advantage for us was student success work was just sitting one level below the vice chancellor. So the vice chancellor could simply call Lerato and say, come to my office and tell me what's going on with Siyaphumelela. And then I have to explain. But that gives us the opportunity and the authority to be able to do the work that we are doing. What the leadership provided us with was a sense of agency, not pressure, but agency as a strategic tool. And we used data instead of our instincts to inform our decisions. And this combination of data, leadership, as well as our partnerships and collaborations enabled us to move as the institution. So as I indicated, I'm coming from a classroom and I'm always thinking about what is guiding what you are doing. So I had to think about what would frame student success. And we moved to transition theory. There was already an idea that is existing at the institution about transitioning into, through, and out, but we needed to frame it quite well. And you can see then we adopted the transition theory by Millis. And what I did, I brought that theory into practice. We used the data that we have to inform. As you can see, our academic advising is sitting at the center in order to understand the different transitions that our students are going through and use that data to identify the strengths of our students as well as areas that they may be challenged in, and therefore come up with proactive interventions that can support students, whether academic or psychosocial. And then the outcome is not only defined by matrices of progression, graduation, but we also understand success can just simply mean having a sense of belonging. And we used this model in order for us to understand what student success is, and it made executive, the staff of the university, to understand what we mean by student success, why do we need the data that we are collecting, and that helped us to start being able to identify students on time and providing them with the interventions that they may need in time. So where does success lives? The student success work is anchored in the Center for Teaching, Learning and Program Development, and specifically within the Student Academic Support Unit. And that's where the learning analytics function is situated. So you can imagine that's my another head. And for us to make sure that we reach an understanding or we develop the culture of student success within the Learning Analytics Office, we decided to have what we call the Learning Analytics Core Group. This is where academics support come together 4 times a year, interrogate the data, and make sure that the data translate into action, and that assisted us to break the silos. And we were able to develop an automated analytics system that will flag at risk students in any level. We understand what risk means for my colleagues in the psychosocial support. We understand what risk means in academic support. And the system is tailored in such a way that it flags those students for different departments as well as our faculties. Crucially, colleagues, collaboration and strategic oversight is maintained, as you can see from my slides, by the Committee for Student Success, Senior Teaching and Learning, and you can still see how close we still are to the Vice Chancellor as the student success work. In closing, colleagues, we have challenges as any other institution. And what is a strength for us, as I said at the beginning, is the lean and the agility that we manage to have as the institution. However, this presents us as a double-edged sword. Our staff, including myself, we fill in multiple roles. And this creates an overload. And these pressures came out in our ICAT discussions as well. Secondly, colleagues, is that the data culture, it is still fragile. However, yes, it serves as an institutional resource, but currently it is driven by one office. And therefore, this threatens the state at which we are progressing as an institution. So our main, or what is in our minds, is how do we continue keeping up our institution as agile while we are filling in vacancies and making sure that if one staff member leaves, we are not losing 3 roles. If one of my staff members or colleagues who are here leaves, we don't need to fill in 1 role. It's actually, we don't even know how to write the advert. We just write it, and then when you come in, we tell you, can you also do this? So colleagues, with that, I would like to thank the Siyaphumelela community, all of you, for your support, our network, the University of the Free State, Northwest, for your feedback, inputs, and CUT. We appreciate that. Our colleagues at Plaatje University, I recognize all of you and our students. Our work is starting to filter to our students, and well done, and thank you very much for the support. Thank you, colleagues.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Sikonyela. Can we please give a round of applause to all our participants as they make their way off the stage? So our next item is going to be yet another beautiful poem from one of our Siyaphumelela scholars, Siyaphumelela Low. Apologies if I botched the name. Siyaphumelela Low is a final year Bachelor of Engineering Mechatronics student at the Nelson Mandela University and the Siyaphumelela Scholar for 2026. Raised in Alisdale and Gqeberha, he is passionate about student success, social consciousness, and educational transformation. He serves as a social consciousness and sustainable futures facilitator, HELTASA Student Forum representative, and a cluster convener for the Ujima mentoring program. Siyaphumelela advocates for universities that foster belonging, critical thinking, dignity, and human-centered innovation in a changing world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. My legs still hurt from last night, but we are here. So, the title of my poem is Unwritten. I am the history-laden roads between Alisdale and Gqeberha. 2 worlds, 1 strip of tar, transriviere, waar Boesmans en Nuwejaarsriviere ontmoet, die geklink van die spoorweë, and a boy who learned to carry both before he had any baggage. I am my Oma's hands, not the metaphor of them, but the actual hands, cracked at the knuckles, moving before dawn, and holding a house together with what month allowed. I am what those hands made possible without ever asking to be thanked. Katanga, the northern areas, where the city kept its people convenient and out of frame. I am the one who left and the one who remembers what leaving cost and that staying costs more. 2015, 2016, roads must fall, fees must fall, open Stellenbosch, Leicester, are your reference list? I remember Emmanuel Sitole, the year the fees were due and the gates came down, I had to return back home. The return to Ellisdale with nothing but silence and the slow work of sitting with myself. The silence was not emptiness, that was voorbereiding. I am the warning letter, not the shame of it, the letter itself, by mond van die registrateur, the university's handwriting for, we are not sure about you. I kept it, I am the person who kept it. And then I walked back in anyway. I am what mentoring and coaching looks like from the inside, not broken, not rescued, but finally ready to see myself and others like me without the institution's gauge in the way. I am the engineer who knows that the system, every construct reflects the values of its architects. I am the one redesigning, remaking, morphing these social structures. I am the wires and the schematics and the control loops, and I'm not apologizing for speaking that language here. The technical is political. The circuit is the argument. I am the room where first years who look like me, look at me, question with their eyes what they are not ready to ask with their mouths. Is it really possible for me too? I am 3,031 students and just one model built from the ground. I am the lecture space where I used to sit so unsure, and the one intimidating podium where I now stand and say, numbers do not bleed. The institution counts attrition and throughput. Where is the African black male and colored male? We are statistics. It does not feel us, the loss. I am the feeling it refuses or lacks the capacity to file. I am not what the system imagined when it drew up a master plan. I am not an exception that proves the institution right. I am proof of what it failed to do and what we did in spite. I am Fanor's discomfort in the lecture halls. I am Biko's interior, the mind they could not reach, no matter how hard they tried. I am Frey's question, turned back at the classroom. Who is teaching who? I am still becoming. I am the unresolved story you will go home thinking about. I am the student who did not arrive broken, who arrived carrying a history the institution had no form for. Ek is van hier. I am from the road. I am from the hands. I am the silence, and I am the letter. And the room full of eyes who needed one face to look like theirs, to keep going. I am that face. And I'm asking, not politely, not gratefully, but asking the way circuits ask for the current it was built to carry. When we build systems, who's going to build systems for us? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lowe. I think the part that touched me the most was the one about the intimidating podium, because I'm experiencing it right now. For our next item, I'm going to invite two Siyaphumelela coaches to the stage. But before they come, I'll introduce them. Professor Wendy Kilfoil has worked in higher education since 1984, first as an academic. Please remain here. Yes, you can just remain seated. Oh, yes. In parallel, she was involved in quality assurance at the universities and nationally from 2000. She has been involved in Siyaphumelela since its inception in 2014 and 2015. Professor Kilfoil currently serves as Siyaphumelela coach for Siyaphumelela Health Sciences University and the University of South Africa. And our next speaker again will be Professor Thea the vet, who is an anthropologist, the past Senior Director of Academic Development and Support, and the past Director of the Center for Academic Technologies at the University of Johannesburg. Prof. Thea has more than 25 years of teaching experience in higher education. Her research focused on children and environmental issues, the health and well-being of low-resourced households, street traders, and the use of technology, as well as the deployment of educational technology in higher education. Prof. Thea has collaborated with colleagues from Bristol University, Fort Hare, UJ, and WU on a book about rural students going to university. Prof. De Vet is the Siyaphumelela coach for the University of Pretoria. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome them to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to add a little to this introduction. There are 7 coaches in Siyaphumelela. We couldn't have 7 people talking in 15 minutes, and so Thea and I were selected to do the presentation, but the other coaches all contributed. We approach Siyaphumelela from both sides. I was the institutional leader at Pretoria in the first cycle and have been a coach in the second and third cycle, and Thea was the institutional lead at the University of Johannesburg in the second cycle and has been a coach in this particular cycle. And we're going to discuss more or less what our colleagues have been discussing and what many of you have been discussing, both what success looks like and how to navigate around challenges. Much of what we're going to say is going to reflect what everyone has been saying throughout the conference. And I think that is quite natural. It's a job of a coach to reflect back to an institution what they are seeing. And I don't think that we are seeing vastly disparate things. When we talk about what success looks like, is there anything more iconic than the graduation? Anything more exciting and joyous, where every student graduating is ecstatic, the parents are proud and happy, never mind the grandparents who are ululating, and the university is celebrating with pomp and their bright gowns, and it's altogether a joyous occasion. But I think Siyaphumelela teaches us to think a bit, without diminishing the joy of the occasion, think a bit about the people who are not there. The students who started and did not finish, the ones who were not retained, the ones who were excluded on academic or financial grounds, the ones who are still in the system. It leads us to think about what is the equity profile of the students. Is there equity in gender, in race, in socioeconomic conditions, in disability, between the people who enter and the people who graduate? And the same can be said about what we're now moving into now, is the idea of employability, success beyond university. Students within 6 or 12 months being employed either in their field or in some other meaningful field. All of this is what success looks like, both, I think, to the coaches and to anyone working within a university. What am I pointing this at? It doesn't seem to want to move. There we go. I think one of the things in common that all of the coaches see in the universities is that in a successful university, student success is everyone's responsibility. And you start with a small group with the executive who are engaged, who are intentional and strategic about their involvement in student success, not just Siyaphumelela, and who support their institutional leads, who with Plaatje, you called by the VC to know what's going on, kept close to the leadership and supported. Then you have your multi-stakeholder student success committee, which is a broader group of people where we want academics, other staff, and the students, where we want to talk about IT and about data accessibility, about analytics, about capacity building, and where we want to talk about enabling policies, practices, and monitoring and evaluation. And then we need to move out to the broader, more engaged institution where student success is a goal of the university's strategic plan, where it is operationalized through the performance management system, a point made yesterday particularly by UNISA, and where data use capacity is built. And it's great to hear from CUT that they engage their protection services. Our vice principal went around on a roadshow to every single department in the university, and the protection services said to him, they know how stressed students are over the exams, and they will facilitate their movement quickly onto campus during exam periods. So we have to involve everybody. It is everyone's responsibility. So that is what we are seeing. And then that the institution owns student success, data-based student success, as a long-term transformational change initiative. Sorry, I have to go back here. So if it's a data-based initiative, data and evidence discussions are core to what we see as success in the universities we are coaching. Unfortunately, for many people in the past, there's been this point at which a miracle occurs. That it's not something intentional, not something deliberate, not something planned. And what we want now is to use the data to fill that gap when the miracle occurred. So what we're seeing in universities which previously did not have systems which spoke to one another is that there's a far greater movement towards interoperable data systems. There's much more awareness about the need to build data accessibility for a start, and then capacity across all levels of the university. And then to monitor and evaluate activities to assess goal achievement. We don't just accept we are offering tutoring, how is tutoring affecting student success? And then to go to a further extreme, and we've seen some good presentations from Free State over the conference, how the initiatives increase not only your equity outcomes, but also, in fact, your output subsidy, because the more students you graduate, the more subsidy you earn. So data can be used in a variety of ways, and we are seeing this building in all universities, and in some, a great deal of maturity already in the use of data. So Thea is going to address the challenges and the way in which universities are navigating them.
So Wendy addressed the typical success issues that we can look at. So I want to look at what are some of the barriers that institutions have that prevent them from getting there. So there are three key issues. So although universities have very different contexts and very different challenges, these three things are common when we struggled to get to student success. So the first one is that we see student success as a collection of different funded projects rather than an institutional agenda. The second one is that there's challenges around stakeholder inclusion. So not everyone is included, and everyone who can influence student success is around the table. And most importantly, we often leave out the student voice. The third thing is fragmentation. Fragmentation across departments, working in silos. For example, admin units thinking that it's not their role, academics thinking it's not their role, it's somebody else's role. So in short, the challenge is rarely the lack of commitment, but it's getting the whole institution moving in the same direction. So how can we navigate these challenges? So a critical component is a lead, or the co-leads in some instances. So that person needs to really have regular engagements with executive leadership, keep student success visible everywhere, have an ongoing discussion and reporting, remind people what the MOU is like, and then try to broaden participation by ensuring that student success committees are well represented, all the relevant stakeholders, communicating across faculties, and actively seeking student voices through surveys, governance structures, and so on. Finally, the lead needs to create opportunities for faculties and departments to engage with their own student success data. So when everyone is looking for evidence together, student success becomes a shared institutional conversation rather than the responsibility of a single office. So we recognize that we don't always get everything right immediately, that we're at different stages, and that there are challenges that if you recognize those challenges and tackle them jointly, then that leads to success. So if these are the key ingredients that we need, where should a new institution joining Siyaphumelela begin? Let me just go to the next slide. And these institutions, we have some advice for them. So the first thing is we need to create a sense of urgency. So that new institution joining us need to have a real sense that it needs to become completely part of the institution and the policy. Immediately establish a student success committee. One of the first practical steps could be to have the ICAT, and Wendy will talk to us about that, where that institution can identify strengths, acknowledge challenges, and build a shared understanding of where improvement is needed. So rather than making a lot of assumptions, begin with a shared understanding of what their current capacity is. So just for me to close, ultimately student success is not achieved through isolated projects. It is achieved when the institution understands itself, works together around evidence, and commits collectively to improving student outcomes. The ICAT, and I'm going to hand over back to Wendy, provides the mirror that helps institutions understand where they are, celebrate their strengths, acknowledge their challenges, and decide where to go next.
What a pity we weren't all born the same height. Or growing into the same height. The ICAT is the Institutional Capacity Assessment Tool, maybe better called tools, because it comprises a survey plus what is called a capacity cafe, which is basically a workshop, and then an analysis of the data which emerged from the two, resulting in recommendations to your Senate Student Success Committee, and also in action plans, quite possibly. So we have been using, the ICAT was developed in the United States by Achieving the Dream. We've been using, but adapting, contextualizing their ICAT survey over the past few years. They have just released a further iteration of the survey. And we find that, in fact, it omits many of the things which are of concern still to South Africa, such as equity, is no longer in the framework. So Sadie and the coaches have been working since about September, October last year with the convening in Cape Town to make it more South African. We've used some of the questions from the existing two surveys, the one we have been using and the new one, and then put in questions which are relevant to South Africa. And the new survey is going to be a scaled response similar to a Likert scale. We're omitting all those little blurbs, which took so much reading and so much time. So it's going to be quicker. And the not applicable option we have omitted, because now everything is, in our opinion, applicable to all South African universities. So we've kept don't know because we want to encourage a wide range of people to take the ICAT so that we have junior staff all the way up to the executive. And there will be junior staff who don't know some things. Maybe there will be executive members who don't know what's happening on the ground. So why ICAT matters is that the more people who can be encouraged to take the survey, the better, because the greater the diversity, the more accurate the result. The workshop can be more selective. Sometimes if you have a fairly low response rate, you can compensate by inviting additional people. The survey is anonymous, so when you send out the invitation for the cafe, people might or might not come, and then you can build. If the response is vast, like UWC had hundreds of responses, then you exclude some people from the cafe to make the workshop a manageable size. Then basing recommendations for action on the views of multiple stakeholders across the institution contributes to engaging people and to a sense of urgency. This is what you've identified yourself as the strengths and weaknesses, what needs to be addressed. My voice is there as a result of participation. And it can be repeated every few years as strategic goals or leadership change. So that looks like it was the last one, and we've got precisely 2 seconds left, so I think we've managed quite well. So new universities joining and old universities may make use of the new ICAT, which should be out this semester. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Prof. So now we are going to move on to our Q&A, just briefly. We do have a space for at least maybe 3 questions. So I'd like to see if there are any questions from the floor to all of our speakers on the stage. Okay, I'm assuming silence means consent. Prof. Devet, as I was sitting here when the conference started, a lot of the institutions I engaged with were saying that the initiatives for student success cost a lot of money, and it is money that they don't have. So, in your own opinion, what makes student success difficult to attain over time for institutions besides the money aspect of it?
Asking me or the other debate.
Oh, that's sorry. Or both of you can answer the question. Both can answer.
Two Prof vets on the stage here. I think, yes, so we are concerned about financially sustaining, as I think all our institutions are, but I think it's also about cultural sustainability. How do we ensure that we remain focused on student success, but that we also don't rely on old information of student success? So that agility to update ourselves, to update our systems, and I think central to this is the student voice. Students change, students' needs change, and so we have to be we have to keep that in the front of our mind in order to think about sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think my twin said it actually quite well. I agree with you. You know, for me, it is drumming up support across the institution. And what is sometimes disappointing, and I think we found it in the University of Johannesburg's ICAT, in the cafe we had, is that many people who should know about student success and elements of the student success across the institution were completely unaware of it. And I think across all of our institutions, communication and sharing, and not keep projects and ideas about projects in smaller groups, but to try, and there the Student Success Committee is the key. But also when you have a teaching and learning kind of committee, some universities have that as one with the Student Success Committee, but also as a Senate teaching and learning committee, is to actually display what you are doing and to highlight successes. Because and to involve people, it's brilliant that you guys are involving cleaning staff and protection services. Because actually what I've seen over the years, protection services are sometimes so unaware of the crisis a student has at the gate. For whatever reason, they couldn't come in, and now suddenly they have a test, and there are blockages there. You know, and so it is really, that to me is the key message, is to, I call it drum up support across the university, from our operations staff, cleaning staff, protection services, to the VC.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Could I just
Yes.
have a word there, please? You talked about cost. If you attended Professor Burns' paper yesterday from Massey University, one of her first steps in the transformation at the university was to do a sort of a sweep of the university to find out what they had. We are all spending money already from our operational budgets on student support issues. She found like 90 to 100 different initiatives, some of which were duplicating. So if we could really understand our universities, I'm working with the university now, it's got 300 people who's got advisor in their title. You really need to clean it up. So if we clean up duplicated effort in the university and put all the money into one area, it's a way of being efficient about the way we use money, whether it's operational or UCDG or Kresge funding. So I think that it's not getting more money, it's using what you have more efficiently.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. Thea, for that insight. The last question would be, of course, we've been hearing a lot about the student voice being the driver of change and all of that. So I think for Mr. Blair and Dr. Nuna, I'd really like to know, what does this look like in your institutions? Students having a voice, students being part of the process that is meant, to help them, because there can be nothing for us, without us. So I'd like to know what this picture looks like in your respective institutions.
Thank you. Before I respond to that question, I would have actually liked to respond to the issue of budgeting. Okay. That at CUT, with the new strategy, in implementing the new strategy, the budget, we are now shifting from an incremental budget to say, let the budget respond to the new strategic goals, and one of which is student success, student retention, the pass rates, progression, and graduation. So the entire budget, so the CFO has been commissioned to look at changing budgeting from an incremental to a budget that's focused on responding to the new strategy. To respond now to your question about the student voice, I'll just give an example. When we developed the student success framework, we ensured that, apart from the different departments, the inputs from the different departments, including institutional transformation, we got input from the SRC, and not only the SRC, but other students that are involved in academic development. And I just want to share what the president of the SRC said when I asked for comment. He said, you know what, I don't want my comment to just be a box-ticking exercise. I want to apply my mind to this so that I can actually amplify the voice of the student. So that's how and also because at CUT, a number of structures, we have students represented. And being an institutional lead, I serve on the different structures. For example, the Student Services Council, where the student voice is also heard in those spaces, and also Senate. Yeah, because even at Senate, I had that opportunity to present the student success framework and receive feedback from students and staff. Thank you.
In terms of our student voice, it's a bit like as Giselle, and it's already been alluded to in terms of an audit about initiatives that we had to go back and do a bit of an audit in terms of where do the surveys go through the university. And it's a bit like across, I've heard from various institutions, we had initially a death by email or a death by survey. And upon going through the audit, there's enormous numbers of surveys were going out to students and they simply weren't responding. So we've clarified that now with our data analytics team. So the only surveys that go out to our students go through one channel, and through that we're now collecting and collating that authentic student voice, and students wish to engage and respond. In terms of important decision making, we have representatives of the Student Association now sit on all our high level committees and decision making committees, but as well as the Student Association, we have representatives from our Indigenous students through the universities. So we'll have representatives from UC Māori, so our Māori students representative, and we have representatives from our Pacific students who also sit on all those committees, so they have an opportunity and a voice, and they know that they're listened to and heard.
Okay, thank you, Simpiwe and colleagues. Just to add, I think at our institution, at a formal level, you have your SRC academic, who would be in the formal structures like a Committee for Student Success, and they're also sitting at Senate Teaching and Learning. And we've got the faculty student representatives at the faculty level that are also involved or part of the faculty board, faculty teaching and learning. The idea is that then they feed into the SRC academic, and then at the classroom level, then you've got your class reps who are then feeding into the faculty reps. At the other side, because we understand that there are other areas, we run a number of surveys, like a colleague is indicating, that would get students' expectations in terms of the support that they would like to see, how it can be adapted, improved. What we are striving to do is to give students feedback on those surveys, to say, here is a report of the previous survey, this is what came out, and this is what the unit is going to do, or the units are going to do. We also run such satisfaction surveys that cut across psychosocial support, academic support, and then we take those recommendations in terms of improving the services that we do.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our panelists for those interesting responses and remarks. But before I let them off the stage, before we move also to the closing reflections, I'd like to call on Mr. Ashton to come give the gift to the institutional leads. A round of applause. Yes, they are here. Thank you. Lastly, we'd like to thank everyone who made it here this morning, despite last night's activities. We are very grateful that you showed up. So there is a lot that I picked up today, and I hope that there is also a lot that everyone picked up in terms of how we can partner with students, in terms of how we can break those silos, in terms of how we can work together as institutions. Those who have had the privilege of starting early as 2014, should always have the responsibility of helping those who started a bit later, so that there is a collective movement within the sector. I don't think it is fashionable to have some institutions on the far end and the others on the other end. We should all move together collectively because our vision is one. I'd also like to thank Sadie for the opportunity to chair today's session. For those of you who maybe might have not known, was the 2023 Dream Scholar. And I'd also like to acknowledge Zoe, who was the 2025 Dream Scholar, who's here in our midst. And in absentia, I would also like to acknowledge Bradley Harvey, who from CUT, who was the 2024 Dream Scholar. So yes, in closing, I just wanted to say, may we never get tired of giving people opportunities. I stand here today chairing this session because someone decided to take an opportunity on me. And I hope that as we leave today, we do not take simply the theoretical part of the work that we did here, but also the practical part of it. Because as it was said in the beginning of this conference, our students should never have to graduate into poverty. And that will only happen if they are seen as more than just student numbers and throughput rates. We need to begin to see students as whole people capable of participating meaningfully in their societies. And if we have a desire to see our students helping other people in society, we should begin by helping them. Because there is no way you would do something you've never seen anyone do to you. I hope as we end this session, we all remember that student success is all of our responsibility. It is a collective responsibility that cannot be moved to government, that cannot be moved to any one institution, but it is something we should own up to as individuals. We should keep our office door open because many of our students are crying to be heard, but no one is listening. I thank you very much for the opportunity. May God bless you and may you travel safely when you leave at the end of today.
Thanks. This is really one of the big impacts that we see with Siyaphumelela as well, is that it's really creating the next cohort of student success champions. I personally have been involved in the initiative since 2016 when I was a data Jedi at Durban University of Technology. And 10 years later, I'm leading the initiative. So 10 years from now, it would be great to see who's standing in front of you. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So please, can the institutional leads go to the registration desk? We have a copy of Prof. Agude's book for everybody that we would like placed in the library. When I meant everybody, I meant the institutions, not everybody here. So we've got a copy of the book and we'd really like it to be placed in your institutions. And then for the sponsored student delegates as well, we also have a copy of the book as well as, not for the scholars because you will be getting yours later. Okay. A reminder to please remove your posters during the tea break as the poster stands will be removed. A huge thank you to Wits University for providing the poster boards. We really appreciate it and you did an excellent job in terms of delivering them and setting them up. Thank you. Our medics are available in the Adelaide room if needed, and if you haven't checked out, please do so from your rooms. And then lastly, those of you on the Hoover app, you would have seen there's a leaderboard, and for the top 10 people in terms of their engagement, we've got a bottle of wine for you at the registration desk. So please collect your bottle, and thank you for engaging on the app. We'll be back here at 11 o'clock. Please enjoy your tea break. Thanks very much, everyone.